fellow guests, Toastmasters, friends. All human relationships are worth examining. Relationships with our family members, our spouses, our pets, our coworkers, even the environment. But there's one relationship that we have to look at closely and often, and that is our relationship with money. I, in my life, have been totally flummoxed about my relationship with money. And, as I will tell tonight, I had some trauma about my relationship with money rooted in my past. According to financial consultants, there are actually 6 financial archetypes which describe individuals' relationship with money. All of these relationships, which are called by financial consultants money scripts, are often rooted in childhood, culturally bound, often based in childhood traumas, passed down from generation to generation, and oftentimes our money script are only partially true. Susie Orman, who's a financial expert, says our money scripts are often rooted in fear, in shame, and denial about money. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I was in my 40s, I always wondered why I got highly uncomfortable when people started to talk at a party, for example, about investments or about finances or salaries. I got so upset and anxious, I would just leave the room. I couldn't stand it. I began to tell stories about myself, like I'm a socialist and I don't really care about money, because I had a deep discomfort. When I went to a financial counselor, I realized that our entire family had broken up over money. Because of some decisions my father made about inheritance and how it was distributed in my family, he made the decision that we were not going to talk to my aunts or my family from now on, and I was 10 years old. I never saw my very best friend, my cousin, or my aunts again because of that money decision. And for me, whenever I thought about money, I thought about ruined relationship, sadness, anger. It really upset me. So I just made up a story that I didn't care about money. I didn't want to know about it. And I can tell you, my very first job, I just signed on the dotted line. You can give me whatever salary you want. I don't care about money. And that was my attitude. I'm going to tell you about the 6 archetypes, so you can think about what your relationship with money is. The first archetype is the guardian. What the guardian does is watch over all of his money or her money. He's always on the phone, or she's always on the phone with finances. They know exactly how much they're worth, what their salary is. They're very comfortable with that. The motivation behind the guardian is control. They need to have control. Now, the upside to that is they always know how much money they have. The downside is often they can't let go. The second archetype is the innocent, and that's what I am. I wanted to put my head in the sand. I didn't want to learn about anything about money. I didn't want to hear about your money. I didn't care about my salary. I couldn't deal with it. But that archetype is often rooted in fear and denial. And so I went around, as often innocents do, whatever. And the upside to that is you can often take jobs, not based on salary, based on your passion. But the reality is you're shunting away the reality of money. The third archetype is the saver. And the saver does what the word says. He or she saves money. The driver here oftentimes is fear of poverty and not having enough resources. So savers save all the time. They're very good about putting aside other things in their budget and making sure that they save, but oftentimes they neglect things that they actually need and maybe neglect other human relationships. The next archetype is the pleasure seeker. And the pleasure seeker uses money to hedonistically take care of their own emotional needs in the moment. I'm feeling bad at work. I think I'm going to get that project taken away from me. I like those towels at Bed Bath & Beyond. I think I'm going to go pick those up, regardless of the fact they cost $100 more than any other towel on the rack, but that I need them and I'm going to take care of myself. Pleasure seekers often ignore the finite realities of you have one bank account and it's one number in that bank account, but it's all about emotional needs and getting those needs met with money. The next archetype is called the empire builder. And empire builders are high rollers. They're people with big visions. They dedicate a lot of their resources, their money resources, to getting their vision implemented. Oftentimes, it could result in a great project. Other times, it could result in disaster, that they can just lose big time. They're big visionaries, but the downside is they carry a lot of people along with them that aren't fully informed of their big plans when they lose, but also they can create great things in society. A lot of the people who built great things, buildings, projects, are empire builders. The last archetype I'm going to talk to you about is called the caregiver. And women often fall into this category. They use money to take care of people that they need, their children, their spouses, their families, other people's families. And the good news is that they're generous. Oftentimes, they're generous and they easily give money when there is another human need. The downside to that is sometimes they don't take care of their own needs and they fritter away resources that they need for themselves in this act of generosity and compassion to take care of others. Now, many of you, as I have been talking, may have resonated with one or more of those archetypes. And oftentimes people are a little bit of a few of them. What is sometimes problematic is when you have one person who strongly identifies as a saver and you've got another person in the same relationship who is a pleasure seeker, and they're not talking to one another. The issue with these archetypes is that closely and often you need to look at your relationship with money. I once saw a poster that said, money doesn't buy everything. It doesn't buy these things, and it listed out manners, health, friendship, companionship, well, not in the case of Stormy Daniels, but anyway, money, if you don't examine that relationship closely and often, can ruin your chances for all of those things.